and welcome to Gar Borras' Rewind, episode number 4. It's going to be our holiday special. Now, Gar, this is our holiday season when we kick off doing these holiday themed shows. We just did one on Abbott and Costello meets Frankenstein. Now, tell me, what is it about the holidays that really touches you here?
Halloween is my favorite time of year. You know, there's just so many elements of Halloween that make it so different than all of the other holidays of the year. You know, it has the element of the spooky. It has the element of wearing costumes. You know, and it's kind of funny because it really does kind of tie into being in a tribute band because you know when I'm doing shows and stuff, it kind of feels Halloweenish, you know, when I'm doing shows because you know I'm dressing up like someone else. I'm doing you know it's it
in your
has
DNA.
some correlations.
Yeah. And you know, I think that goes hand in hand with your love of horror. And I'm going to directly quote you from our most recent episode of Time Machine, which is going to premiere tomorrow night at 8 p.m. I think in there you said how you just love the creepy.
I sure do. You know, we talk about this a lot because I really don't like the blood, guts, and gore for horror and all that kind of stuff. It's
Gar Borras is freezing up. Oh my God, Gar. Oh my God. Freezing up again. Well, let me tell you, folks, while we wait for our friend Mr. Gar Borras to come back to return, we've also done an episode on Frankenstein. This is the original Frankenstein from 1931, and great classic.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I guess we froze or something like that, but it looks like we got you back.
That's all right, yeah.
Last time it was me, now this time you froze.
Interesting, because I was on, but you froze on my end, so I don't know. Anyways, yeah, so Gar has told us many times what a big horror fan he is. You know, another episode we did last year, kind of Halloween related, which I always love around Halloween time, is It's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown. And, you know, I urge people to go check out our episode on that. What I always loved about that is, you know, it was not necessarily scary, but it was a fun Halloween thing. I love the originality of it, the Great Pumpkin. You know, Charles Schulz to come up with that. I mean, that speaks volumes about what a creative guy he was.
Well, plus, you know, I think it kind of conditioned all of us because they would always only show it during Halloween. So every year you kind of looked forward to it. It was just kind of one of those signposts, you know, that it's that time of year.
Yeah.
And so, you know, them, you know, broadcasting it once a year kind of conditioned us for that.
Yeah.
You know, to where you know, now they don't broadcast it on TV, you know, on a regular basis like they used to, and we'd set our clocks to it and everything like that. But you know, we wind up, you know, putting it on ourselves, you know, and just continuing those traditions that we like, and we've talked about that too. You know, during different times of the year. You know, there for each holiday, I have certain movies that are traditional that I watch every year, and we talked about that. Burbs is one of them for Halloween, and you know, you know, it's just all you know, the thing that I enjoy the most. You know, we were talking earlier in this episode is the creepiness.
Yeah.
And I just really like Creepy so much more. And I thought for a long time that Creepy was kind of tame and it's kind of a safe zone. But I discovered something recently that has taken creepy and done it on steroids. It is, and it really kind of. I didn't think that it was possible that creepy could be taken that far.
Yeah.
And you know, to the point where it really can kind of scare you and startle you and even, you know, make you think and scare you.
Yeah.
It was a show called Black Mirror.
Oh, I got you.
And you know, I discovered it recently, and the first season of Black Mirror, there was only 3 episodes.
Okay.
So there wasn't really much, uh, you know, from the studio in getting behind that show, because I think the studio felt that it was so dark and everything like that was so disturbing that they just didn't feel that it was going to catch on.
Wow.
But then, you know, they wound up doing a second season, and then there was more episodes. And then by the time they got to the third season, it became like full blown, and the studios were like fully behind it, and they had like a
Sure.
bunch of episodes.
Yeah.
So it was really obvious in how it was launched that the studios really weren't behind it, but it gained its own audience on its own,
Yeah.
kind of, you know, and for me, that show, you know, I do watch it, but you know, some of the episodes have been uh, so shocking and so disturbingly thought-provoking, you know, about these different scenarios that they use in the storylines for the show. And like I said, that show is like creepy, but creepy on steroids. It's very disturbing,
Mhm.
and some of the subject matter are so thought provoking that, you know, even that part of it can be very scary and very disturbing.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah,
Interesting.
it's almost like I brace myself when I watch it. Oh no, is this going to be too much?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And let me ask you, Gar. Now, when we talking about your love of horror, and this is a great example, the classic Frankenstein movie from 1931. Let me ask you. You get actors like Boris Karloff, who played Frankenstein. Lon Chaney, of course, played the Wolfman. You get these characters; they become typecast, known as doing these horror type movies. That how shocked are you when you see them like in a drama or a comedy? You're like, hey, that's that's no, that's not, he's supposed to do horror. I mean, yeah, Boris Karloff is a great example of that, because I don't know how many people even realize that he was the voice. He did the part of the original animated Grinch and How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
Well, yes, and you know, I mean, anybody that is familiar with his film work, as soon as you heard his voice, you knew
It was
it
him.
was Boris Karloff. You
Yeah,
know, so
yeah,
for me, it was never a surprise. It was just like, oh, you know, and having him narrate it, it was really kind of perfect.
yeah, yeah. I mean, there's could be two more polar opposite characters. Frankenstein and the Grinch are kind of both kind of monsters. The Grinch is more of a friendly monster, which I guess you have to kind of do for because it's a Christmas story. And what I loved about the Grinch too is very much like these classic monsters. Even though they're monsters, you kind of have sympathy for a monster, and then you like the Grinch. You know, you feel sorry, you know, maybe because he's never had any love, and you want him to be happy. You want him to find out just what Christmas is really all about. And that's why people love that movie, because by the end of the original How the Grinch Stole Christmas, the Grinch is kind of he's seen the way, you know.
Yeah, yes, and but that's the theme for it seems, you know, a lot of the Christmas type stories, you know, they're all kind of, you know, it's a wonderful life,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
finally seeing the light, you know, It's just that seems to be a theme that runs through a lot of Christmas stories that have become popular over the years.
Even the original, if you go back and watch the original Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, which again today, by today's standards, it was amateur hour. But for that time when that movie was made, I'm not sure exactly on the year yet, but it had to be like 1950s, 1960s. I mean, that was like early stages, I guess, of claymation. I'm not sure, early animation. And again, the whole story of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, he's the underdog. He's the one that's always getting picked on. So naturally, people, are in his favor. People are encouraging Rudolph, and that's what that all is all about. That story.
Well, yes, and then another one of those that's where somebody sees the light, A Christmas Carol.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just like a ton of those type of stories are what really over the years became popular over the years, and rightly so, because really. I think that is the gist of what Christmas is supposed to stand for in the first place. So,
Yeah.
I think everybody's gonna have different opinions about that.
Yeah.
But I'm just
that's the classic, Charles Dickens story, and then of course there's been different adaptations of that. I mean, they had classic animated Disney one with Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck as Scrooge, of course. And you gotta love that if you're a kid. A few years ago, they did a great updated version with Jim Carrey, and just the makeup he wore, and it was just, you have to see it.
Well, he's so animated that
Already.
he's perfect for cartoons.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just like there's some people that when they hit the screen, they're very different from everyone else. And Jim Carrey's one of those guys. He just does really out there characters, and for a long time that really, really worked for him.
And one of his all-time best roles ever, you got to give it to him, was his version of the Grinch in Ron Howard's How the Grinch Stole Christmas. I mean, that is another one of those films. I mean, we're looking back at it years later, and that has almost become a Christmas tradition with many families. Either tuning in to watch their DVD copy, or it gets played every year, on cable. So everybody's still tuning in. That's kind of become a lot of people's Christmas tradition. That movie.
Absolutely. Huge portion of American households, it's a tradition. With the family, it's not one person; it's the entire family.
You're so right, and especially the Jim Carrey version is one of those things, very much like the original version. The whole family sits down and watch it. It's enjoyed by both children and adults.
Yeah, yes. And so it's kind of nice, that he for a long time, that worked for him, but it just seemed that after a while, it just kind of waned. That whole thing that he was doing was so popular. I think probably what would work best for him is, kind of taking a break and then maybe researching, because, with these characters and stuff, because with my first memories of Jim Carrey was in Living Color. When he used to do Fire Marshal Bill, or Fire Marshal Jim, or Fire Marshal Bill, or something like that. Let me tell you something. And oh my God, that character was so bizarre.
Yeah.
And it really, that character was what started it all for him. That got everybody's attention, because it was so bizarre, but yet so funny and so good.
Yeah. And Gar, another thing while we're talking about holidays, it's kind of a tradition for me, especially when I was younger. You must, like me, remember all those classic TV shows we often talk about would always have a special holiday episode. I mean, one that really stood out to me was there was an early Happy Days version where um, Fonzie doesn't really have a family, and so he doesn't want anybody to know he has nothing to do. So he kind of lies and says he's going to visit some relatives out of town, and then Richie quickly picks up on, oh no, oh, the Fonz, I went by the garage. He's there by himself eating beans out of a can. Oh, I got to do something about get him to come spend Christmas with our family. And he's like, for the longest time, no, Red, my bus is leaving at 9 o'clock. I'm getting ready to leave. I'm getting ready to leave. And then eventually, Richie and his dad, they go by the garage and they say, hey, come by and join us for Christmas dinner. He's like, okay, I can only stay for a little bit, but then I got to get on my bus ride. And eventually, they realize that he's just not leaving. The bus is never leaving, and Fonzie says to Mr. C, "Hey, Mr. C, thanks, thanks. I got your drift. Thanks for inviting me. I get that you realized, I was giving you guys a line of BS, but thanks."
Well, and that's that kind of theme for Christmas, the generosity, opening of your home to somebody less fortunate, all of those things. And all my life, everybody has complained that that is really not a mentality that should only be surfacing during that time of year. We should be embracing that mentality
all year around
the entire year.
Yeah.
And I do agree with that. Unfortunately, a large portion of society basically chooses to just resurface those feelings during that time of year, and it really is a sad measurement of our society. That every year we see proof that is proof that it's just we only do it during that time of year, and then the rest of the year it's just we completely forget about those morals and those codes that we go by.
Yeah, sure.
Unfortunately, I can bring it up, and talk about it and everything like that, but there's nothing I can do about it. I can't say anything to change anybody's attitude.
All you can do is do your part.
Yeah.
All you can do is do what you do. Yeah. And where do you stand on Santa Claus? I mean, that's the ultimate kind of symbol of the holiday season.
Santa Claus exists in all of us.
Yeah.
And Santa Claus is not a character. Santa Claus is somebody that exists in us.
It's almost like Christmas spirit. I'll share a story with you, Gar. For my day job, I work with handicapped adults. They're mentally disabled, as you call them. And they're some of the most amazing people. And so, for the last like 10 years, I was the guy that they chose at work. Hey, would you like to, when we have a Christmas party for the students, how would you like to dress up like Santa Claus? And I tell you, it's one of the most funnest things I look forward to every year, because I mean, it really gets me in the spirit, and it's amazing. Even though these are adults that I work with, you'd be amazed, like the look they get on their face when Santa Claus walks into the room, and the smiles that come over their face, and just the joy. And I really get into the character, like, whoa, Merry Christmas, and call them out by name, and we had each one of the students, they get a little gift bag. And so, I mean, something I look forward to, like, December I'm gonna be doing it again, and it's just everybody. In fact, I have a student. He's reminding me, hey, Santa Claus, hey, you gonna dress up like Santa Claus again this year? I said, hey, yeah, you know it.
Yeah. Well, you're giving joy to them,
Yeah,
uh, and they're giving that joy back.
yeah.
And it's just one of those natural things that happens.
Yeah,
Uh, you know, in doing something for someone else can bring you joy.
yeah,
And so, that's, then again, that's the theme of Christmas.
yeah.
If I think if everybody discovers the joy of doing to others and having the ability to be able to do for
Yeah.
others, is a thing that actually pays back in dividends.
Oh, sure, sure. I mean, I was
And
just
so
having
it's a
this.
great, it's a great thing to model your life,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah. I
and
mean,
how
I was
you
just having.
want to be as a person.
I was just having a discussion with somebody, talked about, I'm so good to people, and people that I'm good to, they don't return the favor. They're not good back to me. And so I was telling this person, well, the way I am is, I don't do things, I don't do nice things because I expect anything back in return. If I do, that's nice, but you do it from the goodness of your heart. And I think that's what it's all about. And I think another thing about Christmas is, I don't mean to get too political here, but I hate the fact that the last several years, it's a lot of people come up to you, again, I'm just telling somebody walking by, hey, Merry Christmas, not Merry Christmas, Happy Holiday. Okay, same thing, Happy Holidays, whatever it is to you.
Well, there's nothing
Yeah,
I can do about, any of those things, those are,
yeah, and another
everybody
thing.
has their comments about those kind of
Oh,
things.
sure, sure.
So,
And another thing I think, I don't know if you agree, but probably being a singer, you probably would. But I love about the holiday, especially Christmas, the singing, the singing of the songs. We wish you a Merry Christmas. Santa Claus is coming to town. I mean, these songs are generations old, and even with that being said, every generation still enjoys these classic Christmas songs.
traditions, last a long time, especially the ones that are embraced.
Yeah.
But nothing lasts forever. Everything always metamorphosizes.
I mean, you're so true because I mean, when I was a kid, I really loved Christmas. It was a time of the year where the whole family got together. And sadly, the older we get, there's less and less. You look around, and less of people that were there back then are no longer here. But yet you still have a memory of them, and you think, man, wish it was like it used to be. But you know what? We carry the tradition on, and it's different, but it is what it is, and we still have a good time every year.
Yes, yes. And for me, yeah, I remember Christmas when I was young. It's very, very different from what it's like now.
Yeah,
And there's things that were, great about back then, the things
yeah,
that were not so good about.
yeah.
How Christmas is staying together and not so good. That's something that'll never change.
Yeah,
There's going to be
that's
some
true.
things that are going to be great about it, and then there's going to be some things that are not so great about it.
Yeah.
To different people, they're going to have different outlooks on that too.
Yeah, now,
Everybody's
Gar, share
everybody's
with
got the
our.
freedom to think and feel about things that they want, because that's the major premise that I grew up in America, that we had the freedom to think and to feel about things that we want. And
Yeah,
that is a freedom that other people don't
yeah,
get to enjoy. And I have embraced that my entire life.
yes,
And unfortunately, um, You know, we live in a climate where there are people that want to take away that freedom.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
unfortunately, you know, I don't think that they're going to be successful at taking away that freedom.
Yeah.
I think that is a part of America that is still really important to most people.
Yeah, you got to fight against that. And I think, you know, you hear people talking about freedom of speech and people trying to censor other people. The only thing I say to that, people who want to censor other people, just remember if they're allowed to censor certain people, there's a possibility somebody's going to come along and try to censor you or try to shut you down. You know, I think everybody's got a right to their opinion, you know, to a certain extent. I mean, as long as you're not harming anybody, right? As long as you know you're right to think whatever you want. But you know, getting back to the holidays, Gar, Thanksgiving. I mean, that's another one of my favorite times of the year. The whole family gets together. You know, typically people have turkey dinner, mashed potatoes. I mean, again, people have different traditions. That's kind of a typical thing. And we did an episode on, of all things, the Macy's Thanksgiving Parade, the history of that. And when that was first broadcast, of course, it was broadcast originally just on radio. And then it became an even bigger thing once they started broadcasting it on TV.
But that's also the big premise of Miracle on 34th Street, is
Yes,
the
yes.
Macy's Parade. It's the big draft of backdrop of the movies.
Sure, sure.
So you know, you know, the Macy's, I the Macy's Parade is another part of Americana.
Sure, sure.
You know, it's another part of those things. You know, I've lived in California all my life.
Yeah.
And you know, and you know, even I, even though I've never lived there or I don't know really anything about it, but I know about the Macy's Parade. I know about the traditions of the
Yeah.
Macy's Parade, the balloons, all of that stuff. You know, so it's become bigger than just a parade.
In fact, if you remember when we did our episode, they were talking about the fact that it is so big, not just in the United States, but people from all over the world watch it, especially now on the internet. And other parades have been kind of modeled around that Thanksgiving parade.
I'm sorry, a car just went by.
Oh, I was saying,
what was that again?
I was saying people around the world, not just in the United States, watch this parade every year, especially now with social media and on the internet. And they've had local parades that were modeled after the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade.
Well, yeah, and now, you know, I think, you know, it's a fertile time for people to come up with new ideas for parades.
Mhm.
You know, just like there was a time that when they decided to do Macy's parades the way they were doing it, that was revolutionary.
Sure, sure.
And it changed. It was a game changer. And so I think it's fertile time now for people to come up with new ideas that could be, you know, new game changers for the whole idea of parades.
Yeah,
Kind
yeah.
of, you know, ushering into the modern era.
Oh, sure. And I think even with COVID, it taught us, you know, don't dare take away people's traditions. I mean, there was a year or two where they decided, okay, well, the Macy's Thanksgiving parade, we're going to cancel. We're going to have a virtual parade instead. And people just did not like that. People just did not tune into it. So, you know, I think last year was the first year they had it again.
Well, you know, unfortunately, what could anybody do about it? You know, people were dying. Like, how many? Over 1 million people died.
Yeah, it's hard to get your head wrapped around that, you know. Yeah.
Fortunately,
Fortunately, that's hopefully
it's a two-sided coin.
There you go. There you go. That's Gar Borras. outlook on life. You got to look at things from both sides, and I think that's a great outlook to have because that's the whole point of talking about having a right to your opinion. Hey, you got a right to your opinion. Everybody else, but you got to look at both sides. That's what I say. Everybody's got
Absolutely.
everybody's got a thought, and just because it's a different thought doesn't necessarily make it a bad thought or a wrong thought. Now, Gar, you're to share with the folks where you're at today.
Where I'm
where's
at.
your yeah,
I'm at Portillo's.
yeah,
It's in Buena Park. It's a hot dog place. And it's amazing hot dogs. I bought something.
oh wow.
So I'm gonna eat it.
Yeah,
After we finish this. But it's a really really good hot dog place.
yeah. I mean,
They
they've
do
been
more than
around for
hot
years.
dogs too.
I know the location where you're at because I literally work 5 minutes away from there. They've been there for years. Got great chili dogs, great shakes, great everything. In fact, my uncle, when he was younger, he lived right down the street from. That's how old that place is, and I think they have another location in Anaheim or something. But if you're a fan of hot dogs and hamburgers, they got great fries too. Um, Gar Borras is eating there, so as you can see, we highly recommend it. I've been there myself.
My original idea was, because I really enjoy doing the broadcast from not very far where the shopping is. So my plan was to go over there, but the parking lot was completely packed.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it was a gridlock, which I did not anticipate. And so then I wanted to have kind of figure something out. So I go, hey, Coachella, why not? Let's go get
that's
something
not
to
too
eat.
far down the street. A great choice
Yeah.
so far. I mean, maybe next time not very far, but I will say people about Portillo's. What I love, I got a chili dog last time, and I was amazed. Like it did not get all over my face. Like I go get it. I used to get it at Wiener Schnitzel, get all over my face, but I don't know, something about the way they make it. Got a little on my face, but not like I typically do. And I'm like, I tell people that's the place to go for a chili dog. Only other place maybe.
I got me a Italian sausage sandwich.
Wow.
It's going to be tasty.
I will let you go. So Gar, Boris, before we go, as you mentioned the Burbs, we're going to be doing an episode of a time machine on that next week, and I'm looking very forward to that. And then, down the line, we're also going to be doing talk about Thanksgiving a little because it seems to be on Thanksgiving every year is the Wizard of Oz. So those are two things we'll be having to look forward to in the coming weeks. So anything else you'd like to say before we wrap it up for today?
People that are out there that are our age didn't watch the Wizard of Oz every year when it came on.
Yeah.
I think I think you would be really hard pressed to find anyone that wasn't part of their yearly tradition.
Yeah.
So that the Wizard of Oz, it's going to be huge.
Sure. I mean, I just know it's going to be huge, and like I said, I don't know why they play it every year, Thanksgiving time, but maybe again, it's become one of those traditions. So thank God for that. I know they did another movie like years later in the '80s. They tried to do like an updated version, Return to Oz. It was different characters, pumpkin, and I forget what else. But see, you still go back to the original. Nothing like the original.
Yeah, give him a gold star for effort. You got to try it. But I just grew up on that story. The whole the Judy Garland. How it starts out in black and white, and
the tornado and everything.
It becomes color. It's just so much about the movie. It was. Growing up as a kid, the two biggest movies that I knew about when I was a kid were Gone with the Wind and The Wizard of Oz.
Wow. We got to talk about that down the line. Gar Borras, I will let you enjoy your food before it gets too cool. You take care, my friend, and I'll see you next week, okay?
All good, brother. Enjoy.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.